if you are in a drift boat or a sled and you're fishing with a guide or somebody is talking to you about how to present this offering 45 degrees out the back of the boat, this is side drifting. Side drifting is not to be confused with drift fishing. Side drifting typically employs about a 6, 7, sometimes 8 foot leader. Oftentimes they run a little dual hook setup with a small cheater or something. You put some bait in the bait loop. I have a single piece of lead out there. I'm actually going to cast this. Now the biggest difference here is I'm not standing idle on the bank. I'm in a boat that's moving. So as I throw this, you know, at a 45 behind us and we're moving downriver, we're literally just dragging this down through the holes. We're just letting that lead tap every so often. It's a technique, it's a method. It's for whatever reason, there's many that are convinced that a longer leader for side drifting works better. I've spent years side drifting with 3 foot leaders and have caught plenty of fish. I have never bought into the theory that we need 6 foot leaders. I have fished them with other folks in boats and I'm okay, that's what we're doing, great. I think you can side drift and do just fine with 3 foot leaders, but what do I know? So side drifting is a different technique. It's not to be confused with drift fishing.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, lower right hand corner. Also, leave us a comment in the comment section here at Fish Hunt Northwest. Subscribe to our channel, never miss a single segment, a how-to, a cooking recipe, or even our live shows. Do it now.
Now, that being said, side drifting is not what you're doing if you're standing on the bank fishing a 6 or 8 foot leader. You are flossing. There's a difference, right, Bo? So there is drift fishing, which we're talking about tonight. There is side drifting, which is a technique that's been used in Washington State and in the Northwest for years. Very productive when in a boat moving with the current, matching current speed, dragging multiple baits and presentations through the hole, longer leader, whatever. That is side drifting. If you're standing at the bank and you're casting out 6 and 8 foot leaders with a small little cheater or floaty device and an oversized hook or a little piece of yarn and a hook, you are flossing. You are not drift fishing. If you have anything longer than a 30-inch leader, 36-inch leader for whatever reason, and you're fishing the bank, you are not drift fishing, you are flossing. I just want to be clear on that. So it's a technique that's proven, and if that's how you fish, great. I'm just trying to dispel the rumors and the misinformation, the difference between drift fishing, side drifting, and flossing, because there is a difference, okay? Let's talk about a few different options for weight. Now, one thing to consider too is, as I mentioned before, anything you can bob or dog, you can drift fish. And this particular rod is set up, believe it or not, it has 2 presentations on here, okay? I have my main presentation, which I would put a little piece of bait on there, and that's gonna work great. And I also drag along this little tiny fly egg, single egg offering. That's about 18 or 20 inches behind my main offering. There's nothing wrong with fishing dual rigs. Fly guys have done it for years. Sometimes they fish 2 or 3 rigs. It all works. Sometimes when drift fishing, you can get away with that. If you can cast it and not get it tangled up, you can do a double offering. Some different options for weight. Now for me, there really is no other option. I'm going to fish stick leads all day long, but for some of you guys, you like to do different things, okay? And that's fine. One thing we can do is we can simply tie on to our barrel swivel a little extra piece or tag line, the piece on there. We take our pliers and we take our hollow core lead and we're just going to cut a little piece off of here with the pliers that make it so you don't press or clamp shut that piece of hollow core. And we'll see if we can get this in here, if my eyes will work tonight. So one method is to simply put this little piece of line on here, and then I push through this piece of leader, okay? Now I have that on there, and all I have to do is crimp that on, okay? Now the thing about drift fishing is, more times than not, and with stick leads I don't really have to worry about it because typically they don't get hung up that much. So if you're not getting hung up, it's not an issue. If you're fishing weights that tend to get hung up, you want to have a release mechanism. Because drift fishing, your weight is contacting bottom. So by putting this on here with a hollow core and a little piece of line sticking off there, if that gets hung up, no big deal, because all you got to do is pull hard, and that's going to end up sliding off that line, and you can get your presentation back. So 1/8 inch hollow core with a piece of leader on there works great in that regard. All right. Some other options that we can talk about. Get back to my main drift fishing rod here. So I have a crane swivel on here, which is nothing more than a barrel swivel with a lock. Let me pull that out. So that's why these stick leads work so great, because they have an eye at each end and I can hang them in there. They're going to fish all day long. You seldom lose them. They work great. If I don't want to do that, back in the day, we used to take solid core lead with a piece of surgical tubing, and another way of doing this is simply to punch this through. See if I can do that, but probably not on that. There we go. On this swivel, now I put that piece of surgical tubing and I just simply press that lead into that surgical tubing. Now, when that gets hung up, okay, and that's pulling on there, more times than not, when that lead's in the rocks, it's just going to pop out. Now you reel that in, you haven't lost your leader and all your gear. You just simply cut off another piece and put that in. Works fantastic, has worked for years. I typically don't use the surgical tubing anymore because I've gone to stick leads. Another option, of course, is Slinkies. You can build them yourself. You just take shot, you take a parachute cord and a lighter and some pliers, you put the shot in the cord, and you have yourself a Slinky. These also work very well. They get hung up far less than solid lead does for whatever reason. They don't weigh as much. If you have a piece that's the same length as lead, it's not going to weigh as much, but so you may have to run a longer piece, but that's nothing more than lead shot in the parachute cord, and you can simply, you know, work that through on your swivel and connect that too, and then that is also a mechanism for weighting. Of course, this won't pull out or release in any way, shape, or form, so if you get hung up, it's probably going to break. The other option is to take hollow core lead, okay? You can cut a piece off, much like these here, and you take your punch pliers. For a lot of you that don't know, that's what that punch is for, and you're just going to set that over here and squeeze it down and basically punch a hole in there. All right, so now, oops, missed it. Cut that off, do it again. So I'm going to punch that lead. Okay, so now I got a nice hole that I put in there. I usually like to pinch these a little thinner, just so that I have that tearing point. That's what all these lead pieces are for and why they have holes in them, because you punch that lead. Now I'm going to hang that on the swivel, close that up. Now this one gets hung up. It actually works pretty well. That'll actually tear through that thin piece of that lead. It's a great way to do it. Again, I don't mess with any of this stuff. I pretty much just resolve to use my stick leads when it comes to drift fishing, because they work so well. A 6-inch stick lead is going to weigh about 0.47 to 0.48, just under a ½ ounce. And you have sizes that vary from 5-inch down to 4, 3, and 2. Pretty much you can quick change them out because they have eyelets at each side. And they just give you a really nice natural drift. If you're drift fishing and haven't used the stick leads, give those a try, because it's really going to up your game as far as sensation, feel, and how natural they match current speed. You can use any weighting system you want for your leads when drift fishing, but for me, it's all about the stick lead. It's all about vibrant colors and presentation. Yarnies are a great go-to. Can't dismiss the fact how well bait works when presented drift fishing. And remember, at the end of your drift, always allow that presentation to sit, ever be so slightly, at the inside seam on the end of that drift, and wait for those steelhead to come pick them up.